Not yet learned your lesson?
This time, Fenlong, I came ready.
Ready to lose again?
Welcome to the relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Chantel Cameron. I've had my lessons, I have made decisions, and I have worked with some great coaches, but I am back now where I belong. Chantel Cameron. During our latest Zoom interview, 2 words were uttered often, a recurring theme, so often that not all of them made the cut. The words happy and family were constant, a gentle reminder that both have been missing in the boxing career of Chantel Cameron as of late, maybe even in life itself. Cameron has been searching for the missing link. She went on the road, short stays in Sheffield and Liverpool before. In many ways, Cameron went back home. The former undisputed super lightweight champion of the world has returned to familiar ground, a return to the gym where she had her greatest success. Cameron has recently reunited with Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis. Cameron has found what she was looking for.
What was there the whole time?
To be honest, it wasn't hard at all. It was quite natural. Cameron told me over Zoom, it's weird how the universe works. It kind of just happened. It wasn't planned. I genuinely never thought I would be going back to Jamie. I have always had love for them.
Why'd you leave?
The best moments of my career have been with Jamie and Nigel, but it's happened, and I am grateful that it's happened. Sometimes in life, you have to leave somewhere to fully appreciate what you already had. Cameron has almost certainly been through that experience. That defeat to Katie Taylor 3 years ago in 2023 left Cameron in a bad place. There is a story to tell about that rematch and everything leading up to it. Things were said in the aftermath, decisions made at a different time. Some of her words wouldn't have come out of her mouth. Some of her decisions might not have been made, but there are no regrets, only lessons learned. I think it is really important in life not to dwell on the negatives. It's important to look forward and not back. I did miss Jamie and Nigel, but I wouldn't say I have regrets because that is such a negative mindset. I don't have regrets because I worked with 2 great coaches in Grant Smith and Stephen Smith, and I learned a lot from them. But I always missed Jamie and Nigel. I miss them more than just for boxing. Boxing is a sport, and it is easy to go 10 rounds with someone, but to have that bond and emotional support, you can't force that. It has to happen naturally. That was something that was missing for me. That's what I missed.
Well, she's the one that decided to leave immediately following the loss to Katie. If you know anything about Chantel Cameron, you'll know that over the years, she's developed a penchant for changing her corner situation, changing her decorum. It's a regular occurrence with her. What her rationale is, only she knows.
Since I initially left Jamie and Nigel, I didn't lose, Cameron added, but I have never been genuinely happy. In boxing, you have to be happy. If not, it just becomes a job and it becomes boring. You then start losing the love for it. It just becomes a payday. And that is something I have always said I didn't want boxing to be for me. I had started to do that. I missed my chosen family. That's why I knew I had to come home.
So she has.
Cameron signed with Jake Paul in his MVP last year after a somewhat frustrating last few years. In many ways, Cameron is now in the perfect place for the final few chapters of her boxing career. MVP will host their first UK show next month on the 5th. Cameron will be part of that London card when she moves up to junior middle to fight Mikaela for the vacant WBO title. The 34-year-old will also be fighting over 3-minute rounds for the first time in her pro career. With training camp already well in progress, Cameron is adjusting her body to the longer duration. I won't be coming in at 154. It's just building up for 3-minute rounds, Cameron says. It's basically conditioning myself for the longer rounds. It's the first time I've done 3-minute rounds as a pro. I want to put on a good performance. I am glad I am doing this with Jamie and Nigel. They know how to not burn me out and not make me hit my peak too soon. I've known them for a long time. I know how well educated they are. Jamie has been there and done it all. Look at some of his fights, and he really does know how to get his fighters ready for a fight. I'm keeping my options open. We'll see what happens. Cameron said regarding what potentially comes next, after her fight on Easter Sunday, which will be screened live on Sky Sports and ESPN Plus in the United States. The stay at junior middle could be extremely brief, with some very big fights seemingly waiting for her down at welter. Mikaela and Lauren Price hold all the welterweight baubles between them, and Cameron has interest in fighting both. They are both big names. I would love to fight either Mikaela or Lauren, but I have to get through April 5th first before I discuss or even think too much about fighting anybody else, as Cameron has been starved of the major fights since her defeat to Taylor in Dublin.
Let me stop you right there. She had the opportunity to have a major fight with Sandy Ryan. Upon becoming WBC champion, she was ordered to have a showdown with her domestic rival, and she was more interested in dropping the belt and moving up. But Cameron versus Ryan would have been a major fight. A lot of what's happened in Chantel's career, and a lot of what hasn't happened, is largely in part due to her own decision-making. She's so focused on one fight with one fighter, that fighter being Katie Taylor.
It's like she doesn't want to fight anybody else. Now, she's debuting as a junior middle, albeit very briefly, and a win at a new weight will be enough to get her back on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list. But if she sort of fell into obscurity before recently signing to MVP, that's because she's the one that wanted to leave Matchroom for Queensberry. She's the one who rejected the Sandy Ryan fight.
And she may be back with Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis now, but she's the one who decided to leave them.
Men's cruiserweight news. Apparently, Jai Opetaia's IBF title reign remains intact, and the sanctioning body is continuing to deliberate as to whether or not they want to strip him for adding the Zuffa bauble to his collection.
Wait, so they didn't strip him?
Jai Opetaia's quest to become undisputed champion remains intact, at least for now. Boxing Scene has confirmed that the IBF will continue to look into the unbeaten Australian Southpaw's case, with the possibility that he will not be relieved of his title reign. Opetaia moved forward with his clash on March 8th versus Brandon Glanton, despite the IBF withdrawing sanctioning from the Zuffa Boxing 4 Paramount Plus headliner.
You know what I think? I think the IBF realized that this is a more expensive problem than they need right now, especially given their history.
Opetaia handily defeated Glanton via UD, though at the time the bout was deemed in violation of IBF Rule 5H, discouraging reigning titleists from participating in unsanctioned bouts. However, his comments during his post-fight interview and the post-fight press conference stressing his commitment to pursue undisputed status swayed IBF officials, at least from terminating his title reign for a second time.
Likely because the decision to strip Jai Opetaia after he's already paid you and he's made it clear what his intentions are is not defensible, not on the IBF's part. You can't just strip the guy like this due to your vendetta against Zuffa Boxing. The status of the IBF Cruiserweight title remains in deliberation, the IBF said in an update obtained by Boxing Scene. Jai Opetaia made comments during the post-fight press conference that have led the organization's leadership to question whether he was made completely and fully aware by his advisors of the decisions he needed to make when committing to the bout against Brandon Glanton. The organization intends to look further into the matter. Sanctioning for the bout was finally granted on March 5th, after assurances from Opetaia's team that the Zuffa belt was merely a trinket and a trophy, and that it was not an actual unification match. Communication was conducted between the sanctioning body and Sean Gibbons. Sean Gibbons of Manny Pacquiao Promotions? What the fuck does he have to do with any of this?
All parties were on the same page to the point where Gibbons, Knucklehead Boxing, wired to the IBF a payment of $73,000, covering the sanctioning fees for the reported purses of Opetaia and Glanton, along with the promoter's fee. Zuffa sources leaked that it had paid in excess of $80,000, though, as previously reported by Boxing Scene, intentionally misleading others by including the due fees to referee Alan Huggins and judges Eric Cheek, David Sutherland, and Patricia Morse, Jarman. Officials for bouts conducted in Nevada, as well as their assignment fees, are appointed by the Nevada State Athletic Commission and have nothing to do with the sanctioning bodies. However, as previously reported by Boxing Scene, the IBF decided to withdraw its sanction due to the miscommunicated status of the Zuffa belt that was made available after the fight. In turn, the above-mentioned sanctioning fees were no longer applicable. Payment for sanction fees, which totaled $73,000, was sent to the IBF via wire transfer from Knucklehead Boxing's bank account and received by the IBF on March 6th. Read a statement from the IBF. The IBF withdrew sanction of the bout at 8:22 p.m. on March 6th via email to Gibbons following the pre-fight press conference that took place shortly beforehand. At 1:22 p.m. on March 7th, a wire transfer was processed from the IBF back to Knucklehead Boxing's bank account, returning the $73,000 in sanctioning fees immediately afterwards. An email was sent to Gibbons, including the wire transfer receipt advising that the funds had been returned. Gibbons acknowledged the receipt of the email at 2:46 p.m. Eastern Time. Zuffa officials declared that Opetaia versus Glanton would be for its inaugural championship, going out of their way to advertise the fight as for the Zuffa Boxing World Cruiserweight Championship. Furthermore, the promotion went out of its way to ignore the IBF, in line with Zuffa's open admission that they refused to work with sanctioning bodies.
And yet they did, Jake. They still did. The author of this article, Jake Donovan, is writing the article to give you a certain perspective. He's writing about this in a certain way, sort of trying to put this on Zuffa, making it sound like it's all due to their negligence when the final decision came from the IBF. And it doesn't actually matter what Dana White said before, because he's at liberty to change his mind, and it is a free country.
That's what I see everybody bringing up, that Dana White said they don't want to work with the sanctioning bodies, but they just did. They just did for this weekend's fight.
And it was the sanctioning body that didn't want to work with them.
All the necessary protocols and provisions were observed by Zuffa to ensure that the IBF title was acknowledged and visible. Thus, I don't buy into Jake Donovan's version of the story. If the IBF are now doubling back on Jai Opetaia's reign as champion after initially withdrawing the sanction,
So they could have an excuse to strip him.
it's likely because they realized in doing this way, you may have created a more expensive problem that you can handle at this time. Zuffa Boxing and Jai Opetaia jointly have more money behind them than you have behind you, and you're doing this for what?
Because Dana said he wasn't going to work with the sanctioning bodies? But he just did.
And according to another veteran boxing scribe in Dan Raphael, Daryl Peoples, president of the IBF, sent out an email saying that he felt disrespected, that the IBF title wasn't visible enough.
Well, I'm sorry, Daryl, but that doesn't sound like justifiable cause to strip a champion of his title when he's followed all of your provisions. That sounds more like something personal, which doesn't warrant what you did. The IBF?
Here's a little history lesson about the IBF, because I don't think all these people arguing in defense of what they did know their history, know their past. The International Boxing Federation, formed in 1983 from the United States Boxing Association, has a history marked by significant corruption scandals, particularly regarding bribery for rankings, as well as accusations of hindering major unification bouts. While it is one of the four major boxing sanctioning bodies, it has faced intense scrutiny over the years.
Enough that they don't need to be under the magnifying glass again.
Over what is an indefensible and dubious decision, the 1999 corruption scandal. The most significant controversy involved founder and president Robert W. Lee Sr., who was indicted on racketeering and bribery charges. Prosecutors alleged that over 30 bribes were taken to rig the organization's rankings, allowing favored boxers higher rankings and better paydays. Federal oversight. Following the indictment of Lee and others in 1999, the IBF was placed under federal supervision until 2004, which forced reforms on its internal processes and ranking systems.
Ranking controversies.
Critics have frequently argued that the IBF rankings are influenced by promotional relationships rather than just performance, sometimes favoring certain promoters, such as Don King in previous eras of boxing.
Rebel belt origins.
Initially, the boxing establishment viewed the IBF as a rebel belt, lacking prestige with some, such as the WBF, forming partly due to dissatisfaction with the IBF's early operations. Now, when you think about the IBF's sketchy history and legal troubles, and then you fast forward and look at this, This is a potential problem that they don't need.
Stifling big fights.
In recent years, the IBF has been criticized for holding up major high-profile unification fights due to strict and often rigid mandatory challenger rules, sometimes causing undisputed champions to be stripped of their titles.
Speaking of holding up unification matches,
Noel Mikaelian, the WBC champion, now feels that unifying with Jai Opetaia is a problem due to Zuffa's involvement. The Armenian German title holder revealed that the World Boxing Council would permit the matchup, but not under the Zuffa boxing banner that Opetaia now represents, following his win over Brandon Glanton in Las Vegas.
wait a minute, because I could have swore I saw Mauricio Suleiman give this fight his blessing.
Mikaelian told Sport DE that he remains interested in facing the Aussie despite the political hurdles now developing between the sport's traditional sanctioning bodies and Dana White's new boxing venture. I want the fight, and it would be great if it happens, Mikaelian explained, but it becomes very complicated because the organizations do not cooperate with Zuffa. How can there be a unification fight? That position leaves the potential fight caught between two rival systems in boxing, Zuffa boxing and the traditional sanctioning bodies.
It's nothing a little brown paper bag from Turkey El Al Sheikh can't fix.
The situation leaves Opetaia with a complicated road whichever direction he turns. If Opetaia and Dana White were to lobby the IBF for reinstatement following the Glanton win, the process could delay any immediate return to the title picture. The sanctioning body may also have reservations after its supervisor left Las Vegas on Friday, following what was described as disrespectful behavior by Zuffa officials, a description even Dana White used when discussing the dispute. The dispute leaves one of the division's most obvious fights tangled in boxing politics. There is also an interim situation. The organization currently recognizes Poland's Mikael Cieslak as their interim champion, who could demand priority for a title opportunity. Meanwhile, long-standing number one contender Ryan Rosicki has already missed multiple chances at a championship fight due to injuries and delays. Opetaia could previously have argued that a clash with Mikaelian represented a unification bout between recognized world champions. However, with the IBF removing its title from the equation following the Zuffa title fight, that argument no longer carries the same weight.
Let me start off by saying that I don't know that we can take Noel's word for it, because I could have swore I saw Mauricio Suleiman give this unification match his blessing if they want to do it. So what if this is just Noel Mikaelian looking for an excuse to not fight Jai Opetaia, because he already made up several to not fight Ryan Rosicki?
As it pertains to the World Boxing Council's interim champion Mikael Cieslak, there's no money in Cieslak versus Mikaelian. There's absolutely nothing to gain in ordering that fight. But if you allow Mikaelian to unify with Jai, you get a nice-sized sanctioning fee out of it. On that premise, I'm not convinced that the World Boxing Council would stand in the way of this unification match. This could just be Noel Mikaelian making excuses not to fight.
Done it before.
Could be doing that now. Before anything moves forward, we have to see what the IBF will do once they're done deliberating. Will they allow Jai Opetaia to keep his belt? I think they should, because this is a more expensive problem than they need.